Mayor of Clarenville, John Pickett, who happens to be from Marystown as well. And unfortunately, I was talking to Mayor of Marystown, Jerry Brenton, last night on the phone, but he was unable to make it today. But we're so happy to have them today and to be here. And most importantly, in my very first press conference that I've ever been involved in, I get the privilege to announce the leader of the Conservative Party, the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition, Pierre Poilievre. And he's more than just the leader of the opposition party. He's a father of 2 wonderful children. And in between all the phone calls, he's no doubt an amazing husband to his very patient wife, Anna Poilievre. But in addition to being one of the best opposition leaders that this country has ever seen, he has big plans and hope for Canada. He understands what Canada needs to get us back on track. He understands that fisheries is one of the most important issues in Newfoundland and Labrador. So he appointed Clifford Small to be the fisheries minister, shadow minister. He understands that natural resources is one of the crucial impacts of our economy. So he appointed Carol Anstey as the shadow minister of natural resources. Pierre Poilievre understands that Newfoundland respects our culture and wants to be able to fish 7 days a week. So without hesitation, he supported my bill to be able to do exactly just that. So I know that Pierre Poilievre is listening to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians and Canadians right across this country. And that is no doubt why he added 25 more Conservative seats to our caucus, and including 2 right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please give a warm welcome to his leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre.
Thank you, sir. What incredible enthusiasm. I guess we should elect more 20-somethings. We want to have more energy on Parliament Hill. I've been very impressed with this young man, and The Rock is very blessed to have his relentless, irrepressible energies working on their behalf on Parliament Hill. Avant de débuter, je vais juste m'adresser aux francophones. Aujourd'hui, les conservateurs continuent de nous battre afin d'avoir un pays plus abordable chez nous, plus sécuritaire chez nous et maître chez nous. Après 11 ans des libéraux, tout coûte plus cher. Les déficits et les taxes inflationnistes libérales ont gonflé le coût de la vie. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce que les conservateurs revendiquent l'annulation de l'hausse des taxes sur l'essence planifiée par Mark Carney et les libéraux pour le mois de septembre. Les Québécois sont tannés de payer plus à la pompe. On paie beaucoup plus ici au Canada qu'aux États-Unis et on paie beaucoup plus maintenant qu'on payait pendant les années conservatrices, même quand le prix de pétrole mondial était beaucoup plus élevé. L'une des raisons, c'est le dollar très faible des libéraux. L'autre, c'est les taxes. M. Carney vise à augmenter les taxes sur l'essence. Un autre 10 sous le litre en septembre. Les Canadiens ne peuvent plus payer. Ça coûte trop cher. Les gens ont besoin de payer moins pour faire le plein et moins pour les épiceries livrées par des camionneurs qui doivent, eux aussi, acheter de diesel. En éliminant, les conservateurs, en plus, proposent d'éliminer toutes les taxes pour toute l'année sur l'essence et le diesel, afin d'économiser au moins 500 $ d'ici Noël et de permettre les gens d'acheter des produits à prix moins élevé à cause du fait qu'on peut réduire le coût de livraison de nos camionneurs. M. Carney, après avoir gonflé le coût de la vie et échoué pour les gens des régions du Québec et maintenant à Chicoutimi-le-Fjord pour tenter d'acheter les votes des Saguenayens. Depuis qu'il est chef du Parti libéral, c'est la première fois qu'il est allé à Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. Mais il n'a rien livré. Aucun résultat. Les tarifs sur le bois d'œuvre ont triplé et sur l'aluminium ont doublé depuis que M. Carney a promis de négocier une victoire face aux États-Unis. Les libéraux ont augmenté le prix de l'essence et d'épicerie. Ils ont bloqué le projet GNL Québec au Saguenay et les gens de Chicoutimi-le-Fjord doivent aussi rappeler que les libéraux veulent confisquer les armes à feu des chasseurs honnêtes des régions. Les gens de Chicoutimi-Lafière ne peuvent pas avoir confiance aux libéraux qui essaient d'acheter leur vote. Votez pour Régis Gaudreault va envoyer un message qu'il faut réduire les coûts, qu'il faut éliminer les taxes d'essence et économiser 20 $ pour faire le plein, et qu'il faut défendre les chasseurs, les fermiers, les travailleurs forestiers et de l'aluminium. On a besoin de voter pour M. Gaudreault pour envoyer le message pour un Canada qui est abordable chez nous, sécuritaire chez nous et maître chez nous avec plus d'argent dans votre poche. It is great to be here in the great and historic city of St. John's, a colorful and historic community that adds so much richness to the Canadian culture. Yesterday, I was honored to participate in the Royal St. John's Regatta, to meet wonderful people and celebrate incredible athletes and competitors. But even in beautiful cities like St. John's, once tranquil and peaceful, we now see a growing wave of crime and disorder in our streets. Since the Liberals took office in 2015, across Newfoundland and Labrador, theft of motor vehicles up 39%, overall violent crime up 40%, firearms crime 74%, all while Liberals want to confiscate the hunting rifles of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. Just here in St. John's, sexual assaults are up 62% and extortions up an unimaginable 850%. Soft on crime, catch and release Liberal policies like the so-called principle of restraint, otherwise known as Liberal bail, require judges release newly charged rampant offenders at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. Instead of repealing Liberal bail, Mark Carney has doubled down on soft on crime. Everything else is an illusion. C-16, for example, his recent bill, provides a get-out-of-jail-free card, empowering judges to ignore almost all mandatory jail sentences, including for extortion with firearms, human trafficking, aggravated sexual assault with a gun. And as illegal guns and violent crime continue to overrun our communities, Liberals continue to target law-abiding hunters, sports shooters, and farmers right here in Newfoundland and Labrador with a costly gun grab that will make life more dangerous by diverting police and border resources away from criminals to going after law-abiding people. Conservatives will take the opposite approach. We will allow Newfoundlanders and Labradorians to keep their hunting rifles and instead go after criminals, bring in tougher jail time for gun crimes. We'll bring in the Jail Not Bail Act, which would have ended the Liberal principle of restraint and kept rampant offenders behind bars when they're newly arrested. We did pass C-225, Bailey's Law, to protect victims of intimate partner violence and hold repeat offenders to account. And we've called for stronger borders and enforcement to stop guns and drugs from getting into our country, including from terrorizing the streets here in Newfoundland and Labrador. But it's not just crime that Liberals have brought to Newfoundland and Labrador. There's also costly inflation. The cost of the Carney Liberals includes higher gas, grocery, and housing bills. Inflation has been above target for most of the last 5 years, and Canada has the worst grocery inflation anywhere in the G7. Over 4 years, the cost of buying an average single-family home in St. John's is up 50%. That is basically hyperinflation. The average asking rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is up 6% just year over year. No wonder that this past November, on any given night, 469 St. John's residents were homeless, up 17% from the year before. All this comes as the Liberal credit card budgeting has inflated the cost of living. The parliamentary budget officer is predicting things will get things worse. First of all, Mark Carney has doubled the deficit that Justin Trudeau left behind. We were told that he was going to be a tight-fisted banker rather than an out-of-control spender like his predecessor. But that was an illusion. What we have is twice the deficit that was projected by his already irresponsible Liberal predecessor, and the parliamentary budget officer found that there is just a 1% chance that the government will meet its fiscal anchor. Meanwhile, under the Liberals, Canada is on track to build 21% fewer homes by 2028, according to the government's own housing agency, after Carney promised to build twice as much. What we were promised is that Mark Carney was going to reverse everything he had said and everything his party had done to drive up costs and crime in the previous decade, but it was all an illusion. After a year and a half, we see it's more crime, more cost, more of the same. Mark Carney is just another Liberal. Conservatives want to end wasteful spending and reduce the tax burden through a dollar-for-dollar law, while ending costly and unproven government projects. We want to boost competition for grocery sectors and reduce the cost of food from farm to shelf to bring down prices for Canadians. We will stand up for Canadian home buyers by eliminating the GST altogether on all homes under $1.3 million, tying infrastructure funding for our cities to faster permitting, lower development charges, and more home construction so that our young people can afford to buy a home and pay off the mortgage. And today, on behalf of all Conservatives, I am officially calling on Mark Carney to cancel his planned gas tax hike in September. Canadians cannot afford yet another 10 cents a litre at the pump. Cancel the hike, Mr. Carney, and get rid of all gas taxes for all of the year to save Canadians 25 cents a litre, $20 a fill-up, and $500 by Christmas. We want also for Canadians to have more money in their pockets and bigger paychecks that they can spend on their priorities. We want this especially for Newfoundland and Labrador, and that's why we are fighting to eliminate all the anti-development laws that currently hold up 500 projects. 500 projects are waiting for federal approval today, and Mark Carney stands in front of one or two of them to do a photo op, an announcement, and a signing ceremony, while 500 of them that it could employ hundreds of thousands of people and generate tens of billions of dollars for our schools and hospitals and families are waiting because his government won't get out of the way. Get out of the way, Mr. Carney. Let these 500 projects go ahead. Now I let my Shadow Minister for Natural Resources just say a word about what resources mean to this province.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to serve as the critic of energy and natural resources for across the country. Newfoundland and Labrador is a resource-based economy, and for too long we have watched the young people of this province leave. We have the highest level of out-migration in this province than any other province in the country. It's time for us to move forward, the government to get out of the way so that our young people can live and thrive and have a future in this province and get those good paying jobs. And so I'm honored to serve and to keep up the fight in Ottawa so that this can be the story for the next generation, for the young people of Newfoundland and Labrador.
And our friend Jonathan Rowe here is obviously a young man, so he relates to the young people of Newfoundland and Labrador, really where he grew up. And what they were telling us is they need jobs. By allowing our resource sector to blossom, they will have those big, high-paying jobs that will fund their future. But we also need to ensure that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians benefit from the shipbuilding expenditures that governments are going to do over the decades to come. And this is something that Jonathan has brought to my attention and that we have decided to pursue. As everyone knows, Canada has the longest oceanic coastline to defend of any country on Earth. Our adversaries have not stopped building, and neither should we. And Canada is now facing a more challenging global environment. We need to be able to take care of ourselves, stand on our own 2 feet, and protect ourselves. That means building more here in our country. Unfortunately, years of Liberal waste and mismanagement have left our Canadian armed forces hollowed out. And despite lots of Liberal announcements and illusions, Conservatives have rightly demanded answers from the Prime Minister on how his government is going to fund the 5% of GDP NATO target, which he has not budgeted for. The Royal Canadian Navy and Coast Guard must have the ships they need to protect Canada and our interests around the world, and that starts with making those ships here in Canada. It was the previous Conservative government that created the National Shipbuilding Strategy so Canada would have the sovereign capability. In that proud tradition, I am announcing today that Conservatives are calling for Newfoundland and Labrador to be officially integrated into the National Shipbuilding Strategy, which could include potential partner shipyards such as Bullarm, Cowhead, and Port Argentia. With the current National Shipbuilding partner shipyards already booked up, this would help increase Canada's building capacity without undermining existing contracts or threatening existing jobs. In other words, the other 3 principal locations where the construction is already underway will keep all the work that they already have, but they are right up to their eyeballs building at their maximum capacity. We need more options to build more across the country, and that is why we want some of that construction to happen right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. It would bring good paying jobs to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. It would make us more self-reliant. It would allow those young people I met yesterday who complain that they can't find good work to get into the trades and make six-figure salaries. What would that mean for your community?
Well, as Carol Anstey just said, we have more young people leaving this country, the province, and staying. I look around at my classmates that graduated high school with me, graduated university for me, and they had to leave. They had to leave to find good work. We need young people to be able to stay here, build a home, have a family, have grandkids at grandma's table at Christmas. And that's our goal, and that's what we're fighting to do. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that, and I think, is your grandmother still around?
She's still around and still cooking.
Okay, she's going to be, she approves of this announcement today?
My grandma approves of this message.
Okay, good. Well, then we don't want you to be in any trouble with her. But at the end of the day, that's what our Conservative caucus is fighting for. We want no empty chairs around the Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner table in Newfoundland and Labrador. We want more jobs right here with good paying salaries that allow a great quality of life. At the end of the day, Conservatives are fighting for those who work hard, pay their taxes, and play by the rules. We're fighting for stronger take-home pay, safer streets, secure borders within a self-reliant Canada, a Canada that is affordable at home, safe at home, and strong at home. We will never give up on this fight. Keep the hope alive, keep the fight alive. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you. We'll now take questions from reporters. Please identify yourself and your outlet. One question each.
Bonjour, Patrick Porter, Radio-Canada. Question sur les relations canado-américaines. Le premier ministre Carney a dit hier que ce n'était pas le temps de changer de stratégie face aux États-Unis. Est-ce que le premier ministre est trop patient avec Donald Trump et est-ce qu'il devrait déjà durcir le ton?
Moi, je pense qu'il doit se concentrer sur des résultats. Il a promis d'avoir négocié un deal le 21 juillet 2025. Depuis ce temps-là, il n'y a pas de deal, il n'y a pas de résultat, il n'y a pas d'entente et il n'y a pas de victoire. Seule chose qui est arrivée, c'est que M. Carney a fait une concession après l'autre, en même temps que M. Trump a doublé les tarifs sur l'aluminium, l'acier et triplé l'aluminium, les tarifs sur le bois d'œuvre. Alors, d'un côté, M. Carney continue de faire des concessions. D'autre côté, M. Trump continue d'augmenter les tarifs sur le Canada. Je ne comprends pas pourquoi on ferait des concessions avant même arriver à la table de négociation. M. Carney est en train de gaspiller nos leviers de négociation, même avant de commencer des négociations. Et honnêtement, ça ne marche pas. M. Trump avale toutes ces concessions, il voit une faiblesse, et en conséquence, il augmente de plus en plus les tarifs. Moi, je pense qu'on devrait prendre tous nos leviers, que ce soit le levier positif de nos ressources naturelles, que ce soit les achats militaires, que ce soit les contre-mesures, et aller à la table pour obtenir des victoires réciproques au retour de ces leviers. Donc, c'est comme ça qu'on devrait le faire. On devrait aller à la table pour se battre pour une fin des tarifs et utiliser le levier et les choses qu'on a dont les Américains ont besoin pour obtenir la victoire promise.
Could you answer that in English as well, please?
Yes, sir. Just to recap, the question was, is Mr. Carney being too patient and should he be harsher? I think Mr. Carney needs to actually focus on the results that he promised. He promised he would have a deal by July 21st, 2025. He promised he would have elbows up. He he promised he'd negotiate a win. Still no win, still no deal, still no elbows. A year and a half later. I don't understand the strategy of making concession after concession after concession before even getting to the negotiating table. To be clear, Mr. Carney is not holding out for a better deal. We have a bad deal. While he makes the concessions that you would normally take to the table to get something in return. He backed down on the digital services tax, the Netflix tax. He agreed to Mr. Trump's demands on military spending and counter tariffs. Many of these things were going to have to happen, but why not bring them to the bargaining table and get something in return for them, rather than making every concession and then showing up empty-handed and in a position of weakness when we bargain. So we still do have some leverage that Mr. Carney has not yet squandered. We have military purchases and our massive capacity to build up and stockpile our natural resources to the potential benefit of tariff-free allies. I would bring that and other leverage to the table as quickly as possible. And I would say, the United States wants to get what it wants. We want what we want, which is tariff-free access to their market for aluminum, steel, autos, and lumber. They must get rid of those tariffs, and then we can work with them to consider their demands in return. But no more unilateral concessions before getting to the bargaining table. That has failed.
Ben Clary, NTV News. Speaking about natural resources, our province in Quebec are actively negotiating a deal on the Churchill River. What role, if any, do you think the federal government can play in maybe getting a deal over the finish line?
I think we should leave it to the two parties to hammer out a deal. It's a bilateral partnership between the two provinces, and I hope they come up with something that is fair for both provinces.
Yeah, Alex Bill, Newfoundland Labrador. Sort of a follow to that. We're hearing from different premiers, including conservative premiers in Canada, about language about how it's like almost a new day with the Carney government compared to what they had to go through with the Trudeau government, particularly on resource development and things like the major projects, or talking about federal intervention and things like Churchill Falls, which is a difficult deal that might not get done. Does that kind of make it difficult for you in terms of how you relate to your conservative premiers across the country and getting your message across?
Well, I would encourage people to look at the results rather than the announcements. So what are the actual results so far after a year and a half of Mark Carney? He set up this major projects office to approve projects at record speed. Do you know how many projects it's permitted? 0. Here we are a year in. There are 500 projects waiting for federal approval. 500 projects that would pay paychecks to Canadian workers, generate revenues for schools and hospitals, make our economy more self-reliant. All Mark Carney needs to do is get out of the way, and yet we continue to wait. He has pledged to increase the industrial carbon tax 6 times higher than it is today. 6 times higher on Canadian steel, aluminum, cement, concrete, fertilizer production, all costs that will be passed on in lower wages and higher costs for Canadians. Everything Mark Carney has talked about on resources has been an illusion. What we need to do is get him out of the way and off the backs of our resource sector so that our investors can invest, our builders can build, and our workers can work. That means repealing C-69, the anti-pipeline law, repealing C-48, the ban on shipping off the West Coast, get rid of the industrial carbon tax, turn over exclusive power to the provinces for projects that are strictly within provincial boundaries, so there's no double regulation on it. That would allow us to safely and responsibly approve projects at a pace that will build our economy.
Zach Power with VOCM. We've heard from the PQ who says that if an MOU is signed on the Churchill River, that they'll be going to the federal government looking for compensation on the border with Labrador. Would that be something that you would be open to if you were Prime Minister?
Listen, I've been traveling throughout Quebec continuously for the last 4 years. I have not had a single Quebecer tell me that the border with Labrador is a priority for them. Their priorities are affordable groceries, affordable gas, affordable homes, safer streets. So I would encourage all parties, federal and provincial, to focus on the things the daily concerns that real Quebecers in communities across the province are actually focused on.
Hi there. My name is Sarah Smelly. I'm with the Canadian Press. What do you think the arrest of a Canadian citizen on espionage charges in Brussels says about Canadian vetting practices?
Well, Mr. Carney has some questions to answer. How is it that this individual was not captured in the vetting process originally, but that other countries and governments were able to have the intelligence to find this troubling information? Why is it that we keep learning about national security threats to our country from foreign governments? After a year of Mark Carney, our country is becoming a playground for foreign interference and international crime and terrorism. He has failed to do the job of protecting our country from that interference and those other risks. I think he has a lot of explaining to do how his government failed to vet this individual in a way that our NATO partners were able to do. I would just point to other examples, though. We have the IRGC-related group, Kataib Hezbollah, which has now been named in U.S. court filings by the FBI as having been involved in 2 shootings in Canada, another 14 in the United States of America, and somehow Mr. Carney refuses to ban this terrorist organization. They're able to operate with impunity on Canadian soil, harassing our Persian and Jewish communities and threatening all of us. Now, it's time for Mark Carney to stop with the illusions and start taking real action to keep our country safe from foreign threats on our soil. Merci beaucoup. Monsieur Carney a beaucoup de questions auxquelles il doit répondre. On a quelqu'un qui est identifié par l'OTAN comme étant peut-être un espion potentiel. Pourquoi notre gouvernement n'a-t-il pas pu identifier ce menace quand il a fait la vérification il y a quelques années? Pourquoi est-ce que les gouvernements étrangers sont capables d'identifier des menaces ici au Canada que notre gouvernement libéral n'est pas capable d'identifier? C'est une question pour M. Carney. Ça nuit à notre réputation et ça montre que notre pays, après 11 ans des libéraux, devient ouvert aux menaces d'ingérence, de terrorisme et de crimes organisés. Ce n'est pas le seul exemple. Le FBI a déposé aux cours américains de preuves qu'il y a un groupe, le corps révolutionnaire islamique d'Iran, qui a été impliqué dans 2 fusillades ici sur le terre canadien, ciblant le consulat américain à Toronto et une entreprise juive. Pourquoi est-ce qu'on doit apprendre du gouvernement américain des menaces terroristes ici au Canada? C'est maintenant le temps que M. Carney met à côté les illusions et les grandes annonces et se concentre sur la sécurité de notre pays. Et finalement, je réitère notre demande de bannir le groupe terroriste Kataib Hezbollah sur la terre canadienne aussitôt que possible pour protéger les communautés canadiennes. Merci beaucoup.
Laura Howell, CBC. For my colleagues in Ottawa, what is at stake if the government doesn't get some sort of deal to stave off more tariffs?
Well, I think what's at stake is that we're going to continue to lose jobs in forestry, steel, aluminum, and autos, and now in another $20 billion of unrelated sectors. So it's time to get results. We're asking the Mr. Carney's strategy of making upfront concessions and getting nothing in return before he even goes to the bargaining table has failed. We're calling on him to take the leverage that he has not yet squandered, take it to the bargaining table, and get something in return for a change. And that is cancellation of tariffs, renewed tariff-free access to the United States of America. We need to fight for our workers, our business, and our country.
Just following your shipbuilding announcement today, can we get some more specifics on that? Because that would be a big capital outlay. You know, what types of vessels would be looking to build here in Newfoundland? What kind of, you know, federal government commitment in terms of dollars or cents you would be considering for something like this? Because the shipbuilding strategy is quite large.
Yes, well, some examples could include, for example, the Continental Defense Corvettes for the Navy, the additional supply ships for the Navy. These have all been identified by either naval leadership or the Coast Guard themselves, but have yet to be awarded. These are projects that Newfoundland could compete to win. We also know that there's probably going to be a lot of other work that is unannounced, even some of the spin-off work that will come from the purchase of submarines. Some of the obviously, the main supplier will provide the vessel, but there's always going to be regional industrial benefits, and we want Newfoundland and Labrador to compete on components and subcomponents of that. So it could be in the billions of dollars of opportunities for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. Again, we're not going to prejudge who's going to win what contract, because we don't believe in political interference. But by opening up the strategy to Newfoundland and Labrador, it would allow our incredible businesses here, our engineers, tradespeople as well, to compete and win contracts to help make our country strong, safe, and sovereign here at home. Merci beaucoup de la question. Certains exemples pourraient comprendre les corvettes continentales de défense, des navires d'approvisionnement. Ces projets doivent se faire, mais les contrats ne sont pas encore déterminés. Il va y avoir probablement des milliards de dollars d'autres dépenses qui ne sont pas encore données à n'importe quel endroit de construction, que ce soit Davie, que ce soit à Vancouver avec C-SPAN, que ce soit Irving en Atlantique. Donc, en ouvrant la porte aux Terre-Neuviens d'offrir des propositions, ça permettrait des milliards de dollars de développement économique de se faire ici dans cette province extraordinaire.
Thank you very much. This concludes today's press conference.
All right. Thanks very much, everyone. Way to go, guys. Thank you. Way to go.